Today, my husband brought an article to me. It's pretty disturbing. And the name of the article, the title is "Priced Out of Traditional Housing. More Americans Are Living in RVs." And this article is by Shannon Petpiece. And what it talks about in this article is the fact that some homeowners, or what used to be homeowners, um, are either being evicted out of their homes because of their lack of ability to pay the mortgage. And for others, they're unable to continue paying the rents of the homes that they live in. So the next best option for them is living in a recreational vehicle, an RV. And I can tell you, a few years ago, I went on a camping trip, and my family and we stayed in an RV. And although it was a nice, vacation, the quarters are pretty tight. You've got a very small space to provide for sleeping, for beds, right? You have one big bed, and then you have a sofa that may turn into like a sofa bed. And then and some RVs have an area over the driver's seat. There's a little area where you can make some makeshift padding and put a bed up there. But it's not very comfortable living. It's very tight quarters. And when it came to cooking, the cooking space was very small. The refrigerator was very small. With showers, the tanks, although at the RV park they provide electricity, water, sewerage, the showers, we have to be careful about the length of showers, the time that we were in the shower, due to the fact that the tanks, when they run out of water, you have to refill them. So it's just a bit of an inconvenience. But there are some Americans that now are choosing to live in RVs because it's less expensive, so they think, than living in a traditional home or renting a home. Well, after reading this article, I began to analyze the pros and cons of living in an RV. So, although, like I said, it may appear to be a valid choice to live in an RV because, maybe you can purchase an RV for much less than you would a traditional home. But the thing is that really the right choice? So let's go through the pros and cons of living in an RV. So one of the benefits is you don't have to sign a rental agreement. You don't have a mortgage. So that means you don't have any debt, right? But the setback to that is you still have to rent the space at the RV park. And if you plan on being there long term, which most RV parks, they expect you to be there for 2 weeks. So if you're living there month after month, you're likely going to be paying somewhere between $750 and $800 a month. So how much cheaper is that? Well, that's for you to decide. The next thing is the benefit of being in an RV is that as a family, you're living closer together in close quarters. You may then have more valuable family time as opposed to living in a home where each person has their own room, you have your own space. So you're not necessarily together as a family unit, eating together, spending time together. So in that instance, maybe that's good. However, as time passes, each person is going to need their personal space. You don't want to be in the same environment with your family all the time, for hours on end, because then you start to kind of get on each other's nerves a bit, right? Because you need your own personal space. So that's the downside of being in an RV, is the space. Now, another benefit to having an RV is you can build a community with other RV families. However, if you're living in an RV and you have children and you're moving from park to park because maybe that park doesn't provide an opportunity for you to stay there for longer than 2 weeks, now you're moving from park to park. And it provides a bit of instability for your children. So then they may have to do schooling online as opposed to being in a classroom where they can talk to other children, make friends, have the traditional school environment they would not have if you're traveling from park to park. Also, if you're traveling from park to park, depending on your location, it may be difficult for you yourself to maintain employment if you're always on the move. But again, if you're living in an RV park where you can stay there for month to month with no end in sight, then perhaps maybe it's not so bad. The next thing is the other benefit of living in an RV is that if you can't afford the monthly rents that the RV parks charge you, there are federal parks that do provide up to 2 weeks of free parking space. The downside to that is there's no Wi-Fi and there's no utility hookups. So you'd really be roughing it staying in an RV park, a federal RV park that's free. So that's quite a choice to have to make. And the other benefit to living in RV is RV, yes, is less expensive to purchase than a home. But on the flip side, when you own a home, you are building equity. In time, even with the fluctuations up and down with the real estate market, overall, if you buy at the right time, sell at the right time, you will traditionally have a benefit when you get ready to sell the home. You will build equity. With an RV, it is a depreciating asset. So the moment you buy it, you are minimizing any equity. Actually, you're not even, the moment you purchase it, say it's $22,000, you are losing money. You're not gaining equity. Like I said, it is a depreciating asset. So you're depreciating it every day that you use it, every day that it is being used as your primary residence. There are things that can break on the RV or in the RV that makes it, again, not an asset, but actually a liability. The other benefit to living in an RV or owning an RV is that, yes, it is less expensive. Your monthly payments on your RV may only be anywhere between $300 to $500 a month. But again, remember, you still have to pay the RV park $750 to $800 a month. So again, you're right back to a regular mortgage payment or rental. So is RVing really a benefit? Some people feel that it is. I personally think that it would be better to rent than to live in an RV. Because as you begin to utilize that RV, and mind you, recreational vehicles were not built to be lived in as your primary residence. So as you begin to utilize different things on this recreational vehicle, you're increasing the wear and tear, and eventually these things are going to break down and you're going to have to replace them. So when you have to replace these things, not only are you paying the monthly park rent, you're paying perhaps your monthly bill because you purchased this RV. Now you've got repairs on top of that. So really analyze it. This is how poor people get poorer, because typically poor people buy depreciating assets rather than assets that increase in value. Vehicles and RVs are probably two of the worst things that a poor person can buy if they don't want to remain poor, because again, they are depreciating assets. So all in all, I feel for those people who are living in RVs, especially the ones with children, because it's not only tough on the parents, but now it's tough on the children. The children don't have the opportunity perhaps to go to school traditionally as other children do. They don't have the ability to communicate and to play with other children, as I think that is a great thing to have, is a community that you can interact with. it is better to learn how to communicate with people rather than being isolated in a smaller group. Because in this society, you have to learn how to get along with people of all origins, people of all nationalities. That plays a great role, especially for business owners if you want to network and build community for your business. So, in closing, for those of you who think that it's too difficult to hold on to your home or too difficult to hold on to your rental, moving into an RV, really think about the costs associated with it, because it isn't necessarily less expensive, but it is oftentimes a much harder road than living in a home with a stable environment for your children. So thank you for watching Financial Fix with Charnella. I will see you on the next episode. In the meantime, like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Thank you for watching.